What? Are you absolutely kidding me right now? Adam Pearce just made the most shocking decision in WWE history, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to destroy everything we thought we knew about WWE's power structure. Bronson Reed has been fired, terminated, released, and the reason why will make your blood boil with rage. But before we dive into this absolute catastrophe that just unfolded, let me ask you something. How many times have we seen WWE management make decisions that completely disrespect their talent? How many times have we watched as promising superstars get buried by corporate politics? Well, what happened to Bronson Reed today might just be the most disgusting example yet. The wrestling world is in complete chaos right now, and social media is absolutely exploding with reactions from fans who are furious about what Adam Pearce just did. And honestly, they have every right to be angry. This decision is so backward, so politically motivated, and so completely wrong that it's going to change everything we thought we knew about how WWE operates behind the scenes. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could they fire Bronson Reed for defending himself? And you know what? You're absolutely right to be asking that question. Because what Adam Pearce just did goes against everything WWE claims to stand for. They talk about giving opportunities to rising stars, they claim they want fresh faces to break through the glass ceiling, but the second someone like Bronson Reed shows real intensity and passion, they cut him loose like he's nothing. Let me paint the picture for you of exactly what led to this outrageous decision. We all saw what happened on Monday Night Raw when Bronson Reed absolutely demolished Roman Reigns with that devastating tsunami splash from the top rope. The place went absolutely nuclear. The crowd was on their feet. Even Roman's biggest supporters had to admit that Reed looked like an absolute monster in that moment. But apparently, showing that kind of dominance and making Roman Reigns look vulnerable was the worst thing Bronson Reed could have done for his career. Because instead of recognizing the incredible talent and star potential that Reed displayed, Adam Pearce decided to make an example out of him. And the message they're sending to the entire roster is crystal clear: don't you dare make the company's golden boy look weak, even if it's part of your storyline. The hypocrisy here is absolutely staggering. Think about all the times Roman Reigns has brutally attacked other superstars. Remember when he put Cody Rhodes through the announce table? What about when he destroyed Kevin Owens with multiple spears and chair shots? Did Adam Pearce fire Roman for those excessive attacks? Of course not, because Roman Reigns operates under a completely different set of rules in WWE. But when Bronson Reed, a guy who's been busting his back in NXT, a guy who's been waiting years for his main roster opportunity, a guy who finally gets his moment to shine, shows that same level of aggression and intensity, suddenly it's going too far and crossing the line. The double standard is so obvious it's actually insulting to our intelligence as fans. And let's talk about the timing of this decision. Reed's attack on Roman Reigns was getting massive buzz on social media. Wrestling fans were finally talking about a fresh face who could potentially challenge the established order. Merchandise sales were starting to pick up. Reed was trending on Twitter for all the right reasons. He was connecting with audiences in a way that felt organic and genuine. But apparently, none of that matters when you threaten the carefully constructed hierarchy that WWE has spent years building around Roman Reigns. The moment Reed started looking like a legitimate threat to Roman's position at the top of the card, the corporate machine went into overdrive to protect their investment. And the easiest way to do that? Simply eliminate the threat entirely by firing the guy who was generating all that excitement. What makes this even more infuriating is that Adam Pearce is acting like he's some kind of moral authority in all of this. The same Adam Pearce who's turned a blind eye to countless controversial incidents involving top stars is suddenly concerned about appropriate conduct and crossing the line. Where was this moral compass when other wrestlers were doing far worse things to advance their storylines? The real kicker here is that Reed's attack on Roman Reigns wasn't even that extreme by modern wrestling standards. We've seen far more violent and brutal attacks in WWE programming over the years. Hell, we've seen wrestlers literally try to murder each other in storylines and nobody got fired. But Reed delivers one powerful tsunami splash and suddenly he's persona non grata? This decision reveals everything that's wrong with WWE's current corporate culture. They claim they want to create new stars and give fresh talent opportunities to break through, but the second someone actually starts to break through and threaten the established order, they get shut down immediately. It's a system designed to maintain the status quo, not to promote genuine competition and exciting storytelling. And let's be brutally honest about what this really means for Roman Reigns' character development. By having management step in to protect him from Bronson Reed, they're essentially admitting that Roman can't handle legitimate competition on his own. They're making him look weak and dependent on corporate protection rather than allowing him to overcome challenges through his own skill and determination. Think about how much more compelling Roman's character would be if he had to face the consequences of Reed's attack and find a way to bounce back through his own resilience and fighting spirit. Instead, we get Adam Pearce playing the role of Roman's corporate bodyguard, removing any real tension or stakes from the situation. It's lazy storytelling disguised as executive decision-making. But here's what really gets my blood boiling about this whole situation: the impact this decision is going to have on every other wrestler in the company. Right now, there are dozens of talented performers in the locker room who are watching Reed's rise with hope and inspiration. They were thinking, maybe if I work hard enough and show enough intensity, I could be next. Well, Adam Pearce just sent a clear message to all of those wrestlers: don't even think about it. Don't you dare try to outshine our chosen ones. Don't you dare show too much personality or intensity. Stay in your lane, collect your paycheck, and be grateful for whatever scraps we throw your way. Because if you step out of line like Bronson Reed did, you'll be out on the street looking for work. This is exactly the kind of corporate thinking that's killing the wrestling business. Instead of nurturing talent and creating organic rivalries that fans actually want to see, WWE's management is more concerned with protecting their predetermined plans and maintaining their carefully constructed power structure. They're prioritizing corporate politics over compelling storytelling and fan engagement. And what's the long-term consequence of this decision? Fans are going to lose interest. When you constantly shut down rising stars and refuse to allow natural storylines to develop, you create a boring, predictable product that people stop caring about. Reed was generating genuine excitement and buzz, and now that's been completely extinguished by corporate interference. The timing of this firing also raises serious questions about WWE's commitment to diversity and giving opportunities to wrestlers from different backgrounds. Bronson Reed brought something unique to the table: his size, his athleticism, his connection with audiences. He represented a different type of star that could have helped WWE appeal to broader demographics and tell different kinds of stories. But instead of embracing that diversity and seeing where Reed's natural charisma could take them, management decided he was too risky, too unpredictable, too much of a threat to their established formula. It's the kind of short-sighted thinking that prevents wrestling companies from evolving and growing their audience. Let's also talk about the financial implications of this decision. WWE just invested significant time, money, and resources into building up Bronson Reed as a legitimate threat. They produced video packages, created storylines, allocated television time, and generated fan interest. All of that investment has now been completely wasted because of one impulsive decision by Adam Pearce. From a business perspective, it makes absolutely no sense. Reed was becoming a draw, his merchandise was starting to move, and fans were genuinely invested in seeing where his character would go next. By firing him, WWE has essentially thrown away a potential revenue stream and damaged their relationship with fans who were emotionally invested in Reed's journey. But perhaps the most frustrating aspect of this entire situation is how it reflects WWE's broader inability to create compelling long-term storylines. Instead of using Reed's attack on Roman as the foundation for a months-long feud that could culminate in an epic showdown, they chose the easy way out by simply removing one of the participants from the equation entirely. Imagine how much more interesting the product would be if Reed and Roman were allowed to engage in a back-and-forth battle that escalated over several months. Picture the promos, the mind games, the interference from allies, the dramatic near-falls in their eventual match. All of that potential storytelling has been sacrificed for the sake of maintaining corporate control over the narrative. This decision also highlights the fundamental disconnect between WWE's corporate executives and their fanbase. The fans were clearly responding positively to Bronson Reed's character and his rivalry with Roman Reigns. Social media engagement was high, merchandise sales were increasing, and there was genuine excitement about where the storyline might lead. But instead of listening to fan feedback and following the natural progression of the story, management decided they knew better than their own audience. They prioritized their internal politics and predetermined plans over the organic reactions and enthusiasm of the people who actually consume their product. And let's not forget about the impact this decision will have on Reed's personal life and career. The man has been working his entire life to reach this level of success in professional wrestling. He sacrificed time with family, put his body through incredible punishment, and dedicated himself completely to perfecting his craft. And now, just as he was starting to achieve his dreams, it's all been taken away because of corporate politics. Think about the message this sends to young wrestlers who are just starting their careers. How many talented individuals are going to look at what happened to Bronson Reed and decide that the wrestling business is too unpredictable and politically motivated to pursue? How many potential future stars are going to choose different career paths because they don't want to invest years of their lives into something that can be taken away on a whim? The ripple effects of this decision extend far beyond just Bronson Reed's individual situation. It's going to impact recruitment, morale, and the overall culture within WWE. When wrestlers see that hard work, talent, and fan connection don't guarantee job security, it creates an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty that's toxic to creativity and performance. Furthermore, this firing sends a terrible message to WWE's international audience and partners. Bronson Reed had been positioned as a representative of WWE's global expansion efforts, particularly in connecting with audiences in Australia and the broader Pacific region. By firing him, WWE is essentially telling those markets that their representation doesn't matter and can be discarded without warning. The international wrestling community is watching this situation very closely, and the consensus seems to be that WWE has made a massive mistake. Reed was seen as a bridge between WWE and the international wrestling scene, and his sudden termination damages those relationships and undermines WWE's credibility as a global entertainment company. But here's what might be the most infuriating aspect of this entire debacle: the way Adam Pearce is trying to frame this decision as being about maintaining order and protecting the integrity of WWE programming. It's corporate speak designed to disguise a politically motivated firing as a principled stand for professional standards. The reality is that Reed's attack on Roman Reigns was no different from countless other storyline developments we've seen over the years. If anything, it was relatively tame compared to some of the more extreme content WWE has featured in recent programming. The idea that this particular incident crossed some kind of line that required termination is laughably transparent as a cover story. What this decision really represents is WWE's fear of allowing organic storylines to develop naturally. They're so committed to their predetermined narrative structures that they're willing to sacrifice compelling characters and genuine fan engagement to maintain control over their creative direction. It's micromanagement taken to its most destructive extreme. The wrestling industry as a whole should be paying close attention to this situation because it represents everything that's wrong with corporate control over creative content. When business executives start making artistic decisions based on politics rather than audience response and storytelling potential, the entire art form suffers. And let's be clear about something else: this decision makes Adam Pearce look weak and ineffective as an on-screen authority figure. Instead of finding creative ways to address Reed's actions within the context of WWE's storyline universe, he took the nuclear option of simply removing the problem entirely. It's lazy writing disguised as executive authority. A strong authority figure character would have found ways to channel Reed's aggression into compelling television programming. Maybe he could have booked Reed in increasingly difficult matches as punishment. Maybe he could have imposed stipulations or brought in other wrestlers to even the odds. There were dozens of creative solutions available that would have made for better television and preserved the investment in Reed's character. Instead, we got the creative equivalent of flipping over the chessboard when you don't like how the game is going. It's the kind of decision that demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes professional wrestling entertaining and engaging for audiences. The fan reaction to this news has been overwhelmingly negative, and rightfully so. Social media is flooded with wrestling fans expressing their disappointment, anger, and frustration with WWE's handling of this situation. Many are calling for boycotts, others are expressing their intention to cancel their WWE Network subscriptions, and the overall sentiment is that this decision represents everything wrong with modern wrestling. But perhaps most telling is the reaction from other wrestlers, both within WWE and throughout the industry. While most are being diplomatic in their public statements, the private conversations and behind-the-scenes chatter suggest that the locker room is not happy with this decision. Reed was well respected by his peers, and many see his firing as a warning sign about their own job security. This creates a toxic work environment where wrestlers are afraid to take creative risks or show too much personality for fear that it might be interpreted as going against company interests. When performers are walking on eggshells instead of focusing on delivering their best work, the quality of the overall product inevitably suffers. The financial implications of this decision extend beyond just the immediate loss of Reed's potential as a revenue generator. WWE's stock price has already begun to react negatively to the news, as investors recognize that firing rising stars for political reasons is not a sound long-term business strategy. The company's reputation among talent, fans, and industry professionals has also taken a significant hit. Moreover, this decision damages WWE's credibility in future contract negotiations with free agents and rising stars from other promotions. Why would a talented wrestler want to sign with a company that has demonstrated a willingness to terminate promising performers on a whim? The answer is increasingly clear: they wouldn't. The international wrestling community is also taking note of this situation, and it's not reflecting well on WWE's global reputation. Reed's firing is being seen as evidence of the company's inability to handle diversity and international talent appropriately. This could have long-lasting consequences for WWE's expansion efforts in key markets around the world. But beyond all the business and political considerations, there's a human element to this story that can't be ignored. Bronson Reed is a real person with real dreams, real financial obligations, and real emotional investment in his wrestling career. Having that all taken away because of corporate politics is genuinely heartbreaking and represents a failure of basic human decency on WWE's part. The wrestling business has always been cutthroat and unpredictable, but there used to be more respect for performers who had demonstrated their value and connected with audiences. Reed had clearly proven himself as both a talented wrestler and a charismatic performer who could generate fan interest and engagement. What's particularly galling about this situation is that it comes at a time when WWE has been publicly emphasizing their commitment to creating new stars and providing opportunities for diverse talent. Reed represented exactly the kind of performer they claim to be looking for: athletic, charismatic, unique, and capable of connecting with audiences across different demographics. By firing him, WWE has essentially admitted that their public statements about supporting new talent are nothing more than empty corporate rhetoric. When push comes to shove, they're more interested in protecting their established stars and maintaining their predetermined narrative structures than in genuinely developing new talent. This decision also raises questions about WWE's creative process and how decisions are made behind the scenes. Was Reed's firing the result of a single executive's personal preference, or was it a collective decision by multiple people in positions of power? Either scenario is problematic, but for different reasons. If it was a unilateral decision by Adam Pearce or another individual, it suggests that WWE's creative process lacks proper checks and balances to prevent impulsive, emotionally driven decisions that could damage the company's long-term interests. If it was a group decision, it suggests that the company's entire leadership structure is fundamentally flawed in its understanding of what makes good television and sound business sense. The timing of this announcement is also suspicious and suggests that WWE was hoping to bury the news during a period when fan attention might be focused elsewhere. This kind of strategic media management indicates that the company knows this decision is unpopular and potentially damaging to their reputation. But trying to hide bad news in this era of social med